I wish I could say that I had a loving, caring, safe childhood, but that's not my story. My mother and father met and married in life at a young age, and with Mum not knowing back then that my father would rape her daughter at the age of 6. My father was looking after myself and my 2 younger siblings, and you know, Mum didn't think anything of it because she didn't know at this point in time. But when she did come home from doing her food shopping, she'd noticed and heard a noise that wasn't right. So, and that was a little girl, which was myself, at the age of 6, which that would have been the pain endured through that molestation. So Mum was wise when I think about now as an adult, that she actually went around at the back and viewed this through the window. I could not even comprehend what that would feel for a mother to witness that. So Mum actually then didn't come in the house. She had gone to the police, rung the police I think it was, and she'd contacted my grandparents. So so the police came and I was very scared, and straight away I was like, I'm going to get into trouble as a child. As a 6-year-old, I just had this, something's not right. I had a yuck feeling, and then when it went further, yes. Mum had come inside the house with the police, and then I had to be taken away with the police to do a story, like a child's story of what had taken place. There was doctor visits, very, very bad pains that I suffered from in the stomach and in other private areas. And because of that traumatic pain and experience and being taken out of the house without my other siblings, I sort of shut down emotionally and had a blockage in my subconscious. I was doing the best that I could because I was very frightened, and answering the questions from the police. And you know, police in their uniform represent to a child that you're in trouble. So that sort of really had me very worried and scared and concerned. And the child service office was called in, so a child safety officer had come in, and my nan and granddad wasn't there at that particular time, but my mum had thought that she was a failure as a mother because she wasn't there to prevent this or to stop this. And so my mum, obviously, she just made me a state ward child to the child safety officer. She didn't want to deal with it, I suppose, because back in those days I didn't realise that my mum had her own story. So by witnessing her daughter being raped, remind her and brought her flashbacks of her childhood. When I was taken away from a child safety officer and put on a train from Newcastle to Sydney. So I just was looking at that window thinking, where am I going? There was no comfort, there was no talking me through the process of what was happening, and that's when I got to Sydney, and it was a children's home where state ward children were, and there was a school there, and school to me, I just couldn't concentrate. It was like the lights were on and no one was home, because my subconscious and all the trauma that I was experiencing, and I was too scared to tell anybody, you know, what I was feeling, because my feelings I sensed wasn't respected, you know, because the family that I knew as a mum and dad that just got torn apart, and then my mum obviously divorced him, and I'm thankful for that mum left that marriage and broke down. But it was just like, what have I done so wrong for me to be taken away from that family? You know, because family to a child is everything, a mum and a dad, and to feel safe around your father, and to know that you're protected, and you didn't have that, and you're questioning all that in your mind when you're in class. So therefore, nothing is going in, and you're not learning, only the basics that I was learning, but that was about it, because I was just too traumatised. So they thought that they would get me to draw pictures to try and see what was actually going on inside my emotions. And I do remember drawing a beautiful, peaceful picture, and to this day it's still always in my mind. And it was just of two mountains and sunset behind it, and there was a river in front of it, and that was probably my place where I would go, my happy place. Family. So yeah, Nan was my rock, and she was my voice, and I just always knew that Nan was a safe lady to be around, and a caring, sincere, and she didn't mix her words. And always in the kitchen, and I was always there, always asking questions and helping to make the traditional food that they had back in those days. Camping, the good old camping days when we used to travel up to Seal Rocks, that was always a good time when you go away and have Easter and Christmas up in Seal Rocks with your cousins and aunties and uncles, and yeah. All I just remember very clearly is I did remember all my life, not when I was shut down, the subconscious, and that was blocked out, because that's a lot of trauma for a child, and then to be removed. But I remember of thinking it's my fault that the family has split up. In my case, I will become that rebellious child, because of the fact of that father wasn't there to protect me, and blaming myself and where are my siblings. So I just started turning, wasn't attending school. I was, now living with my grandparents, so I was forging my nan's signature, at the time, because I was, having time off school, going to the beach, because the beach was the thing back then, and just got with the wrong crowd, and that's when, I started dibbling around with, drugs and alcohol. Because I was angry. I was angry at my dad, because he's supposed to, not do things like that to his daughter. Very angry at my mum. I sort of was having this love-hate relationship towards my mum, of why did you leave us kids with dad on that particular day. So for a long time I had a lot of anger burst and outrage fits, because I was always angry, like I wouldn't have had to gone through everything where I've gone through up to now, Mum. And I just feel that my whole life is just destroyed because of that one rape incident, Mum. I had a phone call from my biological father, and I answered the phone, and it was a drunken voice, and I had just said, "What do you want, Dad?" And he was there to tell me what he had done to me. And then the drunken father was confessing that when I was a young girl, that he had raped me, and that he continued to have those feelings towards me. And I just went quiet. And when he said that, I just said, "If you come anywhere near me or my children, I'll have your guts for garters, and God will get you too." And I hung up on him and ran into the bedroom. I'm sitting on the bed now with all this pain and all the emotion that came with the pain, the anger, the everything. And I was just crying my eyes out. And all I could see was Jesus was holding my hand and walking me in to that moment again. And I was like, wow. And I just had this a knowing within me that I had to forgive. I had to forgive my biological father. So I done that, even though he wasn't there, I'd done that and said, "Okay, God, I will forgive him. I will forgive my mum." And the crying, the pain and everything that hit me, and I just cried and I cried and I cried.